at least for the time being, it feels like Florida State and the ACC need each other. The same is true of Clemson and the ACC, if we're being honest about this. I understand that they're in litigation right now because they want out of the grant of rights, Clemson and Florida State. And Jim Phillips took to the days to address some of that at the kickoff of ACC Media Days, which is Monday, and that's going to be a 4-day affair, which features not 18, 17 ACC members. I somehow include Notre Dame in this calculus when I shouldn't, and right to point that out because Notre Dame plays half an ACC schedule, but they do not play in the ACC. They're an independent. But Florida State and Clemson might be looking at Notre Dame's arrangement and thinking that feels like it suits us, especially when you take into account they're not just the standard bearers for the ACC. They have been the only programs in the ACC to win a national championship in the playoff era. Last year, notwithstanding for Clemson, they have been one of the class programs in the entire sport, regardless of conference affiliation. And I think this is a pivotal year because we're coming to find out just how little the College Football Playoff Selection Committee respected Florida State and its schedule and respected its depth chart. And Florida State kind of got a point when they're saying, hey, we play in the ACC. Maybe if the ACC was a little bit better, they would take us into account. But instead, they lose out to Alabama, an SEC program that had lost the SEC championship. And when you look at it from Florida State's point of view, I've said this before, they are right to be angry. You are right to be angry. You ran the table, went undefeated, won the conference championship, remained undefeated, and you got the shaft because Jordan Travis got hurt in a game that really didn't matter all that much. And you didn't have a whole lot behind him, but that should not take away from the season you had. But it feels like we're doing this thing where we're playing a version of college football ultimate team or dynasty mode when you lose one player and all of a sudden the entire thing needs to come apart. Or according to the College Football Playoff Selection Committee, Alabama just looks like a better team as opposed to just trusting the scoreboard. But I think this is also an interesting spot for Florida State to come out with a vengeance. Like, Florida State has never really needed a reason to feel slighted. They're going to find a way, find a reason to feel slighted. And I'm looking at what Mike Norvell was able to do in the transfer portal and what he did to replace Jordan Travis in going to get former 5-star quarterback DJ Uiagalelei. And I really like him. I do. We're doing the 134 project at Florida State, at Fox Sports. And I have Florida State, I think, as a top 10 team, right? Perhaps a top 5 team, because I'm looking at the roster and I just love the additions that he's made with Malik Benson, Roydell Williams, Terrence Ferguson, Fintrell Cypress, Patrick Payton is on that defense and could be that dude could be Jared Verse light. And when you look at 6'5", 254, 7 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles last year, you can see how he might be able to eat off that edge. But this is also a team that damn near got beat by a Clemson team that added absolutely nobody in the transfer portal. Matter of fact, for perspective here, to probably talk about this at some length for another segment, Colorado added more players in the portal than anybody else in the cycle for the second year in a row. 42 players came in to play football for them. 0 came in for Clemson. Dabo Swinney's got one way of doing things. Prime's got another. And Mike Norvell, kind of like the Lane Kiffin, I think, of the ACC, if you will. But even that is going to get under the skin of ACC folks because I'm equating ACC champion to a program that can't get past Georgia and Alabama, which might be the case for Florida State. I go back with Mike Norvell. He was wide receivers coach at TU when I was in undergrad and helped develop a guy named Damaris Johnson into an all-American kind of talent at TU. And he's since become one of the better head coaches in all of college football. Co-offensive coordinator at Pitt. I mean, you know the story. Memphis, as a head coach, turned them into a winner, gets to Florida State, and really rebuilds the program. And I don't think he gets enough credit for that. And I'm in on them, right? I really think that they got something. They got a gauntlet run, though. Like, they got to go play at a plucky Southern Methodist who's returning a bunch of guys that they like. They host Clemson, and they got to go on the road against Miami. But if you can do all of that, there's no reason to believe that you can't win the ACC title or even make the ACC championship game. And I think you stand a chance as Florida State making the ACC championship game against, say, Clemson and getting into the college football playoff. It sucks that this playoff came just a year too late because we all know Florida State's in a 12-team extended playoff. They're one of the 5 at-large bids. They just missed out as the 5th best team, according to the College Football Playoff Selection Committee. But another thought that came to my mind was just how much the SEC moves the needle for college football viewers. Matter of fact, 247 John Talty and Brandon Marcello had a really great piece come out that they referenced 33 featured SEC teams. 33 teams were featured in the top 50 college football broadcasts last year, just 11 for the ACC. And that's one of the reasons that we talk about the ACC and the Big Ten and the Big 12 as the way we do, right? In the SEC, we're talking about them in order of importance. The SEC, the Big Ten, then the ACC, and then the Big 12. I say then the ACC because Clemson and Florida State are doing a lot there. But as they don't want to be a part of the conference, they also need the conference to hold up its end. And Clemson and Florida State feel to me quite a bit like Oklahoma and Texas did a few years ago, right? They're just getting tired of carrying the conference and not really getting the return for it. People think that they play in a lesser league, so they're left out or they aren't given their just due. That's worse than it was for Oklahoma, who always felt like the fourth team in because there needed to be a fourth team in. And that's kind of where Florida State was last year. And Clemson, anytime they make the playoff, tends to be pretty good. Not only do they tend to be pretty good, they are winning national championships with great defense and great play calling. I really am excited to see what these programs can do this year because I think both Clemson and Florida State have every reason to feel like they can make a run at a national championship this year. Florida State more than some. As we continue to talk about ACC Media Days going on simultaneously with Big Ten Media Days, that's a thought that I want you to keep in the back of your brain is, do you hear or see or feel Florida State or Clemson as the class of the ACC, or are you looking for a dark horse, a team like Miami, right, to come and really show you what's good, a team like Virginia Tech? Far be it from me, but Georgia Tech feels good, and they ought to, right? They ought to feel good about what they did last year. Are they going to contend for an ACC championship? I don't think so. But with the three new members, SMU, Cal, and Stanford, along with the returning members and somebody having to play Notre Dame, there is every reason to believe that Florida State and Clemson can get one of those coveted top spots in the College Football Playoff Selection Committee's ranking come December when it's time to start actually playing playoff games.